Today, we're trying actual construction hacks in Minecraft to see if they help you be a better builder. So our first construction hack comes from an engineering training course. Shows you the best thing you can do is to start with a really good plan. So we've got a blank template right here. I'm gonna use the wall to lay out my plan of a construction site that I wanna build. So I think first we'll do a little area right here. Okay, so this is my template for a little construction site that I wanna build for this video and do the rest of the hacks in. All right, and after all that building, we have created this magnificent construction site, and I think it actually works so well. I never use wool to outline things, but I can see now how important it is because you can literally plan everything ahead of time. You're not like randomly building your entire base. Matter of fact, I would say this might be one of the most useful hacks ever because look how nice this turned out. But there are so many insane hacks today to make you a better builder. I cannot wait to show you the last one. So this video is showing us a house flip and the best ways to do it. And one of the tips it says is to always level your base and actually build a frame for your house, which by the way, almost nobody does in Minecraft. So what we're gonna do is use this area right here to begin building that brand new base using this actual construction hack. And the first thing you gotta do is literally pour and dig out the frame. Okay, now that we've dug out the entire hole right here, we then surround it as if it were a basement. This is where like your water would be safe. And this is gonna make your house look more realistic. Now we have an actual basement laid out, which I guess is what professional builders do. And then just a little simple staircase here designed out of some dark oak. So that's our actual staircase. We made a foundation. And then what you do from here is create the house above the foundation. So your front door is gonna be like upstairs. Okay, so now that foundation's poured, the last thing we wanna do is just build up some simple walls on the side and see if this makes the house look better. And this is really what the test is about. It's seeing if this looks better than a normal base. The fact that it's elevated by one, the fact that we have an actual platform, which real homes have. And I feel like it actually does look a lot better. Like to me, this feels more like a home. It feels more realistic. It just looks a little bit better. I think this would probably elevate your building just a hair. This one involves using support beams throughout your house, which is so important. I know that these are going to be amazing in Minecraft. Even though we don't need the support, we need it for looks. So what you want to do is you want to pick a log, I think probably that looks good. So for example, I think a dark oak log is going to look a lot better now. And then what we're going to do is add some support beams to go up to the little roof here. And this is going to add a new layer of depth to the build and make it even more realistic. What I love doing too is a little bit of torch action on these just to keep it well lit down here because you know
you don't want a dungeon.
Now the upstairs is where it gets a little bit more challenging because the support beams, they could go a lot of different ways. But one way that I know looks great is doing this. These roof support beams now look like they're going to be holding up the top of the house, which is pretty awesome. Like this is literally leveling up your building like you've never seen. I mean, that frames the window. It looks fantastic and freaking lantern the corners. Come on, tell me that doesn't make your base instantly look better. But let's get in there and finish up some of the pillaring because the roof still needs some pillars. So for the roof, you can see we used a different type of wood because it contrasts really well. And then we can add some pillars right up in here that come through the roof and give us some support. You don't see that design too often, but what's cool about it is you can then use these as extra lantern slots. Now our house is made entirely of wood, so we need some fire prevention. So what do we got down here?
It provides a fire block, which prevents fire from traveling up the stud bay like a flue. This slows the fire down so it can't leak between floors.
This is genius. If we use different types of material like stone in our base, we could stop the fire from spreading if maybe some griefer and troll comes around and burns our base down. Our basement's already mostly stone, so it's unlikely the basement's gonna burn. But the upstairs, I feel like definitely has some inherent risk. So what we could do is maybe make the bottom of these pillars a new type of stone. There we go, look at this. So by changing these pillars to deep slate, it obviously contrasts really well and it stops fire prevention. It makes more sense at the top because then the fire is not gonna spread down, at least not as easily. A little bit of detail that just saves your base just a little bit. What I wanna do now is find other areas that could potentially be fire hazards, like right here, and anywhere you can pop these in, especially where it's not visible, it'll at least slow the spread down just a tiny bit. Let's see how that looks. That is cool. That looks nice. Well, we could stop it a little bit here by taking this out and adding another window. And the same over here. We're gonna also change our front steps into deep slate because that's gonna give us a little more security when we're walking in, and then get our door placed. Now that is security right there. There's one other thing we could do, get some emergency water. Basement's the best spot for that. We're just gonna put it over here inside of a little trap door. You don't need anything crazy and exotic, but you do need it. So here's what I like to do. You can make infinite water source with just 3 blocks. You can put it right here in your wall. That way it's always there and easy to access. Then all you need to do is put down an emergency item frame. Inside it, place your bucket and then just put a piece of glass in front of it. And now you can break this if there is a fire for an emergency to pick up your water. One quick trap door, and you've got yourself a almost invisible emergency water location. Maybe a sign though might look good. Follow them emergency guidelines. Now you've got a break in case of a fire emergency location downstairs. You get yourself a bucket out and take a look at how cool this is. Super compact infinite water source.
and air conditioning.
So we need some sort of way to ventilate the home because realistic homes have ventilation. I could see these acacia trapdoors or iron trapdoors working as vents. So for example, a vent right here would actually look super clean. So those two corner vents not only help you vent the area a little bit and look a little more realistic, but they also help see what's going on downstairs. If you got someone down there, you can be like, hey, what's going on? So here's what we'll do for the rooftop vent. We're gonna pick an area that's somewhat hidden, and I think right next to the door is probably the best spot. Okay, we almost got it. Problem is I can't get this thing to work because there's a vent in the way where I need to put a lever. Okay, so here's how we're gonna design this. This is a rooftop vent and an emergency entrance. So if you're upstairs and you really need to get inside, but you don't want to go downstairs because there's like a creeper, you can open this, get inside. The only downside is it's not perfect. You can't really close it from the inside yet, but it is ventilation and it does look decent. Finally, we need some floor vents down here. So here's how your ventilation works in the basement with built-in heating. By putting a lever here, you can open up your vents downstairs and then literally turn the heating on whenever you want to get a little warmer down here. So you pop these bad boys down, open it up, and the heat starts coming. And then, you know what would make even more sense is if the vent was actually in the corner here. That way it goes all the way upstairs. Then you can literally ventilate your entire home. We need to make it look a little better. So give me a second while I do some redstone magic. All right, that took a really long time, but with some innovative redstone, we now have an automatic ventilation system inside of our base. When I pull this lever, that's gonna automatically close this up. And you got a little trap door there, but then when you pull it again, it's gonna open up your ventilation system and the smoke comes all the way back through your base through all the vents in home. So if you wanna warm it up, you can now do it as easy as a quick flick of the switch. We're gonna put one more trap door over here just to copy the design. And now this is ready to go. We just got a little bit of outside maintenance to take care of, and that's normal in any homes. We can just cover this up with like an outdoor ventilation kind of vent system. All right, you got your little utility room out there to keep your stuff ready. Now it's time for the big honka, the roof. All right. So what we want to notice about the roof is first up, it's got little pillars and support beams here. It's not a flat roof. It's got an angle to it. This guy's risking his life up here. And what he does is he builds the shell first and then goes in and does the detail. I'm going to make mine out of deep slate so that we can reduce our fire risk. And we're going to use tile because that looks kind of like shingles that you would have in a base. Now we're going to just outline the roof. Is try having it dangle over just like that on top of the pillars, which looks really cool. So let's get our foundation built here. Okay, that's a pretty clean roof. Now we got to get the rest of it. And you notice that he had a bunch of like pillars. Well, for us, we've realized that these are kind of good support beams. So we're going to try some of these for the support. Not too bad of a frame. I think that looks kind of good. Definitely encases the base quite nicely. I think this looks pretty phenomenal. So now we got to fill in the rest of it, clean it up a little bit, and make this look like a real house. There you go, guys. That's why you always measure twice. The entire middle roof has been off center. How many people noticed that the whole time? I sure didn't. All right, well, that's fixed. That's a disaster avoided. Make sure you measure, guys. You can lead to disaster if you don't. Roof building is probably one of the most tedious things you're ever going to do, by the way, in Minecraft, especially if you put a lot of time and effort into it to make something fancy like this. It is not a simple process, so you need to make sure you're measuring. It's coming out kind of cool. That's definitely a unique roof you don't see too often. Now it's time to just do the rest of it. If you find yourself going crazy when you're doing this, don't worry about it. That's totally normal. This is what our roof looks like now. I wanted to give it kind of a fortress vibe up top so you could still get up there and use it. And there's just a little bit more to do, which involves finishing up the pillaring work that should go all the way through this. Now this is a cool looking base. Take a look at the rooftop. This is a very unique roof design, which allows you to go up there. It's not a boring, simple roof. It's gonna separate your base. Now you can always go in and add some highlights over it. So maybe like since we've got some different types of stairs, that could look really good and make the windows just pop a hair more. Who knew construction hacks would make your base look so decent? Now, hopefully you're not too exhausted for building that roof, because next up, you got to do the interior decoration. And if you study some of the real actual designers and construction workers, one thing they do is they just start room by room and object by object. So they might go through and do all the lights like this, and then they're going to go through and do all the appliances. So basically, pick a theme and then just do that theme. So right here, we're just going to mark this off, and this little yellow area is going to be our chill zone, right in that zone. Down here, we've got our fire zone, so this seems like a great idea to make this whole corner kind of a utility area, and then over here will be a storage area. So I think a nice little seating area fits so well into that little window right there. And then what we could do is put down a crafting table in the center, or I think carpet might look better. We need some color in here. There we go. That looks great. And then since we're on the seating, I think we could also do with, honestly, like the exact same seating zone over here. I think that looks so good. Some more carpet. Everyone needs an upstairs crafting table, so I think we could use one maybe back here in the corner, and maybe one back here in the corner. You never know when a guest is gonna need it. Let's get our chest placed now, and then some decorations. Now, if you want mossy bricks on the outside of your house, you can do that by just putting string on top of it. The string's invisible, stops the moss from growing, gives your base a super cool look. Inside, we added some nice little details in the walls. Now we're just gonna add a couple frames and some paintings, and this place is gonna look good upstairs. Okay, that looks pretty nice. Now for the downstairs zone, we've marked this off as like a utility zone, so I know exactly what we can put down here. So we changed the floor to actually be a new type of wood, which is just upside down barrels, which are still accessible for storage, which is super nice. One of the coolest ways to do storage. You've got your emergency water, and then surrounding the water is going to be all of your miscellaneous tools and resources. Super smart way to do the build. We'll just give this a nice clean indent. And that is about as compact as you're gonna get right there, folks. You got your smelting, you got your loom and your grindstone, and then you got your tools over here, which is very nice. And then this back corner can be a chest room, so we can just make that really quickly. Our innovative chest room can be accessible from in or out of the house. So I guess since we're at a construction site, it would make sense to do something like this. So you can have all of your construction site debris out here and come and get it, or do the same thing on the inside of your house. So it's like a very nice construction themed base. You don't see too many multi-access point chest rooms, all right? That is sick. Once a project's completed, they make a punch list. What is a punch list?
Structural units, or areas that were not constructed, or they are below the quality level, is listed in the punch list.
So you basically go through and mark things that you don't particularly like. You might have seen people do it with like painter's tape, and they put tape up on your wall. So we'll use a different thing. We're gonna use a soul torch. So for example, the yard. All right, we're gonna put a torch here in the yard. These are just marking areas that need fixed. This little gap right here, the stone's not even. I think we could use a little bit of detailing around the window. Upstairs looks pretty unique. It's definitely not the most normal window. Maybe some detail there. So now we've got our punch list, and you can mark it like this and then go back and make the necessary changes. So for example, let's fix this yard. So now I'd say it's a more proper yard. We've got like the podzol on the outside and like dirt and mud that a construction worker house would have. So we can go ahead and clear that out. We've got a torch over here for the dirt, and then we got one right here to close this up. So I think just a simple trap door should do it. There we go. That is nice and closed. And then you can open it up when you need to access your redstone. What else do we mark? We marked here because our windows need some more details. I think some cobblestone would be great. Then some oak door shutters. All right, we've significantly improved the window game here, and we could do a little bit more down here, and then finally add a little bit of a pot outside with a flower, as if this were a beautiful flower garden. And then I think for the front, we're gonna do one more minor change. It's get rid of the dirt, because these become floating flower boxes where you can literally plant anything you want in your window. All right, that's got a lot more flavor to it. And finally, that's the last blue torch. So this is what the base came out like. Now, I don't know about you guys, but it's definitely a lot better than the normal box bases I see. I think it's one of the better bases around. Definitely a weird roof though, so I'm not sure how I feel about that. Peace.